At Circle K, you can get the freshest cup of coffee in the world. We know what you're thinking. How'd you get away with saying that on the radio? Well, it's true. Every cup of Circle K coffee is ground fresh, right when you want it. So, for a beautiful, mind-boggling, mouth-watering split second, your cup is the freshest on earth. Every cup ground fresh. Get a free cup today. Text COFFEE to CKEASY. That's COFFEE to 253279 at Circle K.
Hi, my name is Adam Reichert, co-host of the Talk Eastern Europe podcast. I'm sure you have heard about the country of Belarus, which has been dominating international news headlines, and the massive protests and violence that broke out there. To understand this country better, we have prepared a special documentary podcast series called The Story of Belarus, the nation, its history, and a new hope. In this 10-episode documentary, we explore the country in greater detail. You can learn more by visiting www.neweasterneurope.eu/Belarus or listen anywhere you find podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. There's an ongoing conversation right now about Glenn Dubin and Eva Dubin, and a lot of people aren't aware of just how close these two were to Jeffrey Epstein. On this morning's episode, we're going to fix all of that. We're going to go through an article from the Business Insider that gives people a little bit of a look behind the curtain, gives you a bit of an idea just how close Jeffrey Epstein, Eva Dubin, and Glenn Dubin really were. And when we talk about Glenn Dubin, remember, folks, this isn't just another enabler. This isn't just another man that was being used as a conduit by Jeffrey Epstein. This is a man who was accused of abusing Virginia Roberts while she was being trafficked by Epstein. So this isn't one of those situations where it's just somebody who was, famous that was hanging around them and enabling them. While that's disgusting on its own, this is a whole different level of gross. This is a whole different level of involvement. Glenn Dubin's wife, Eva Dubin, was Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend even. These people are very, very close. And the fact that they didn't even attempt to distance themselves from Epstein after his first arrest, so much so that they invited him to Thanksgiving dinner the year after he got out. That's how close they were. So close that their daughter called him Uncle Jeffy. So where is the legacy media and the scrutiny on this disgusting bastard, Glenn Dubin? Since the legacy media won't put him on blast, I guess it'll be up to us here in the independent content world to do just that. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look at who Glenn and Eva Dubin really are. This article is from thebusinessinsider.com. The author is Megan Morris, and the headline: a billionaire hedge fund manager and his wife maintained social and charitable ties with Jeffrey Epstein even after he went to jail. Sounds like a fantastic group of people, right? Fantastic couple. We're not talking about somebody who went to jail for some white-collar crimes here. We're not talking about somebody who made a mistake. We're talking about a sexual predator. Somebody who preyed on young girls, women, and anybody else who had the unfortunate luck to find themselves in his orbit. This is a depraved, disgusting, lunatic individual. Not somebody who could be reformed. I already told you my stance on that. People like Epstein, there is no rehabilitation for them. There is only prison cells and chemical castrations because these people, they're hardwired to be sick like this. And I'll tell you what, it's not just Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell's hardwired to be a sicko, and anybody who took part in abusing Virginia or any of the other girls is just as sick and disgusting as Epstein, in my opinion. A prominent hedge fund manager and his model-turned-doctor-turned-philanthropist wife had longtime ties to disgraced financier, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, and their relationship didn't end when Epstein went to jail for prostitution in 2008. Oh, of course it didn't. They were super close. Look, I'm telling you right now, this is the type of relationship that needs to be aired out. These people were really, really close. And Glenn and Eva Dubin have a lot to answer for here. All right? Not only what occurred with Virginia, but what about the 15-year-old Swedish girl that was in their kitchen crying, telling the butler how she was abused by Ghislaine Maxwell and Sarah Kellen Vickers? Why isn't this being aired out all over the legacy media? What is their motivation? Instead, Glenn and Eva Dubin invited him to their home for a large Thanksgiving celebration in 2009, after he served 13 months in jail. Well, isn't that fantastic? Just have old Uncle Jeffy come on over for Thanksgiving dinner. And, while you're at it, why don't you leave your children unattended with them? I'm not even kidding here, folks. The Dubins should have, if they have their children, they should have been taken from them. These people are unfit to be parents. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care what their social status is. If you're letting a man like Jeffrey effing Epstein around your children in your home for Thanksgiving, you, my friends, are pieces of shit and most certainly fellow travelers. Before the holiday, even Eva Dubin wrote to Epstein's probation officer in an email obtained by Business Insider to say she and her husband were 100% comfortable with Epstein around their children, including their then teenage daughter. Isn't that nice? That teenage daughter? She used to call him Uncle Jeffy. Oh, and did I forget to add that Jeffrey Epstein wanted to marry her? Okay? So, look. A lot needs to be said about Glenn Dubin and Eva Dubin. The spotlight most certainly needs to be pointed in their direction, because they have gotten away with barely any scrutiny throughout this whole entire thing. And I am of the mind that all of those people that were named by Virginia especially for having abused her must be aired out on a regular basis. I have done a deep dive into each one of those people. I think that we get caught up a little bit sometimes in the salaciousness of all of it and the outside players, and we forget that at the heart of this operation was a group of monsters who were abusing these girls. So that's why I try and stay focused, laser-like, on exactly what we have going on here. The people that have been named in the court documents, the people who were involved in the abuse, these are the people that must be aired out. And I'm telling you right now, any one of these people that was involved in abusing these girls must be prosecuted. An investigation by Business Insider revealed that the billionaire Dubins, well known in New York and Palm Beach circles, had numerous financial, social, and charity ties to Epstein. While the couple didn't end their relationship after Epstein went to jail in 2008, they're now trying to distance themselves from the sex offender. Of course they were, right? Look, here's what happened. When Jeffrey Epstein got arrested the second time, they knew that the gig was up. And like usual, they were trying to get out ahead of it. They wanted to get out in front of it. They wanted to let you think that they were just mortified by what occurred, when in reality, they didn't care. They knew what Jeffrey Epstein was. How couldn't they have known when Glenn Dubin was partaking in the trafficking ring? They knew. They didn't care. And they let him around their own children. That's how sick and demented these people are. Through a spokesperson, they said that Eva Dubin had known Epstein for decades and thought he rehabilitated himself after his plea to charges including procuring a minor for prostitution. Really? He cured himself? He cured himself. How does that occur? The only cure for Jeffrey Epstein, like I said, is chemical castration or him being thrown out of a helicopter. People like this do not change, okay? If you molest children, that is exactly what you are. You are, as they would call you in prison, a chomo. Own it, Glenn Dubin, because that is what you are as well. You sick, disgusting bastard. A spokeswoman said in a statement, "Had they been aware of the vile and unspeakable conduct described in these new allegations, they would have cut off all ties and certainly never have allowed their children to be in his presence." Again, that's a straight-up lie on its face. They knew what he was because good old Glenn Dubin was involved in the abuse. So, forgive me if I don't believe that line of bullshit. The Dubins are the latest high-profile Wall Street family to come under scrutiny for ties to Epstein. Last week, Business Insider revealed that Epstein was the director of the private equity guru Leon Black's family foundation from at least 2001 through 2012. The Blacks later said he resigned in 2007 and that they submitted erroneous tax forms for years. Oh, yeah, so that's cool. They can... I mean, why don't you try that? Why don't you try that with the tax man? Call the IRS and be like, I submitted erroneous forms for the past few years. No big deal. I'm not in trouble, right? Wrong. They'd be coming to your house, garnishing your wages, hauling you away like you just stole nuclear secrets. But Leon Black, this another dirty scumbag who I've aired out here on the podcast, is able to do whatever he wants. Their excuse is we filed erroneous tax returns? How is that even possible? How is it even possible that people like this continuously are able to get away with all of their scumbaggery, while the rest of us, of course, have to play by their rules? And you know what's so funny about that? The rules are created by their friends. The rules are created by their scumbag buddies who they help get elected. What a fantastic setup for them. And you know what? Since we're on such a roll here, we're going to read another article. I've covered this article before on the podcast, but it was a while ago, so we're going to run through it another time and give a little bit more background on the Dubins. I mean, we might as well while we're here, right? This article is from the Daily Mail, and the headline, Jeffrey Epstein's pimp Ghislaine Maxwell threatened a 15-year-old Swedish girl held hostage on his private island when she refused to have sex. This article was authored by Ariel Zilber and Rory Tingle, and it was published on December 29th of 2020. Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator and scumbag friend Ghislaine Maxwell threatened a 15-year-old Swedish girl held hostage on his private island when she refused to have sex, according to bombshell claims made in U.S. court documents. And, we've went through this already. These were the claims made by Ronaldo Rizzo, who was a butler. He worked for Glenn Dubin, and he made these allegations in court documents during one of the proceedings. Ronaldo Rizzo, a butler who worked for hedge fund billionaire Glenn Dubin and his wife Eva Anderson Dubin, said in filings for an unrelated case that Epstein and Maxwell brought the teenager with them when they visited his employers in New York. So, the scumbags we just talked about in the other article that said they distanced themselves from Jeffrey Epstein, right? But still had him over for Thanksgiving dinner and shit like that. Well, now, Maxwell and Epstein brought a crying girl, a 15-year-old, to their house. So they brought a trafficked girl to their house. Okay? Pretty damning information, right? A little bit more meat to add to the bone. If you didn't think Glenn Dubin and his wife were sick bastards before, you will after we're done with this article. He said he found the girl crying in the kitchen and heard her describe her alleged treatment at the hands of Maxwell and her assistant, Sarah Kellen, when she was being held at Epstein's property in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So can you imagine the torment of this kid? She's on this island, 15 years old, being abused by Maxwell, Sarah Kellen Vickers, and I'm sure Epstein. And she has nowhere to go, no escape, nobody to help her, and none of these people, employees or otherwise, stood up to defend her. Now think, what must be going through this poor girl's mind? Mr. Rizzo claimed the girl told him that Maxwell and Kellen had demanded sex from her and taken away her passport and threatened her when she refused. This is the sort of shit that occurred with Ghislaine Maxwell and Sarah Kellen Vickers on a regular basis, according to the survivors. And yet Sarah Kellen Vickers is still not in prison? She's not in jail. She's not indicted yet. It doesn't sit right with me. According to Mr. Rizzo, he introduced himself and his wife to the teenager after Anderson Dubin stepped out of the kitchen for a few moments. So, Eva Anderson was in the kitchen, the girl was in the kitchen, and Mr. Rizzo and his wife were also in the kitchen. Eva Anderson Dubin steps out, and the girl starts to talk. He said the girl sat in a stool next to a kitchen counter in the Dubin's home. She was distraught and shaking, literally quivering. So you mean to tell me Eva Anderson Dubin, who was a doctor, doesn't recognize that this girl is distraught, that this girl has suffered trauma, that this girl needs help? Well, she recognized it, folks, but she didn't care. She was part of the trauma. She was part of the abuse. He continued in the testimony. She proceeded to tell my wife and I was on the island, and there was Ghislaine, and there was Sarah, and she said, they asked me for sex, and I said no. So first of all, right out of the gate, Sarah Kellen Vickers is being accused by a 15-year-old of having sex with her. In Glenn Dubin and Eva Anderson's kitchen. How is this not a criminal conspiracy? How is this not a RICO case? And how is Glenn Dubin and his shitty-ass wife not part of it? Mr. Rizzo then said she didn't specify who asked for sex. She said they asked for sex, so both of them would be my guess. According to Mr. Rizzo, after the young girl refused to have sex, Kellen took the young girl's phone and passport and gave them to Maxwell. And at that point, she said she was threatened, Rizzo testified. And I said, threatened? She says, yes. I was threatened by Ghislaine not to discuss this. Again, for anyone thinking Ghislaine Maxwell is not dangerous, or that Ghislaine Maxwell is only going to be charged with the crimes from 94 to 90, the 94 to 97 charges, I really don't think that's the case. I think there is more coming down the pipe here, okay? And the fact that she was in Eva and Glenn Dubin's kitchen, this little girl, as she's being trafficked, crying to the butler and his wife. Boy, this is the kind of stuff that prosecutors dream of having to build their case, to build evidence, and to go hard in the paint. And it's all right here for the taking. It is all right here. And I really, really hope that we hear that RICO has been placed on this case and that everybody involved must now answer questions. Mr. Rizzo testified that the girl stopped answering questions once she realized that Anderson Dubin was heading toward the kitchen. Mr. Rizzo testified that he saw the girl about a month later on board a flight with the Dubin family to Sweden. Really? This poor girl, 15 years old, trafficked from the Virgin Islands, from God knows where else, to Glenn Dubin's, in the kitchen, crying, distraught, freaking out about what occurred, and then she's on a flight a month later to Sweden with the Dubins? I mean, come on, folks. The testimony came from a defamation lawsuit brought against Maxwell by Virginia Roberts. The case was settled in 2017, but 2,000 pages of documents from the proceedings were ordered unsealed on Friday by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Now remember, this is also the court where they could have pleaded to try and keep the documents sealed that Preska ordered to be unsealed. And I'm sure that the precedent that they saw with Epstein might have stayed their hand, and they figured they'd be wasting their time. Roberts accused Glenn Dubin of participating in the sex trafficking ring according to court documents. Right there, folks, okay? And Virginia herself made a post recently about the Dubins not being aired out and not being talked about, and I agree. There's not been nowhere near enough coverage of the Dubins and their role in what occurred. We're talking about high-profile people here, folks. We're talking about people with big money and big influence. And they thought they were going to get away with it. They thought that nobody was ever going to be onto their shit. Well, newsflash, jerk-offs. Your time is coming. The Dubins have denied these allegations, with a spokesperson for the couple telling DailyMail.com, Glenn and Eva Dubin are outraged by the allegations against them in the unsealed court records and categorically reject them. Yeah, I'm sure they do. But I wonder how the little Swedish girl felt. I wonder how she felt when she was on that plane with you after being abused by Maxwell and Epstein and Vickers. And furthermore, folks, was she trafficked to them? Was she sold to them as some sort of slave? I mean, they were abusing her first on the island. Were they preparing her for her eventual life in servitude to these sick, disgusting bastards? Again, there are so many unnamed girls in this case. What happened to them all? Where did they all end up? It really breaks my heart to think about that stuff. Epstein pleaded not guilty to criminal charges of sex trafficking in girls as young as 14 from at least 2002 to 2005. He died in prison in August. After Epstein was arrested for sex trafficking, Anderson Dubin released a statement to the New York Times saying that the allegations are completely counter to the person she is familiar with. Yeah, again, still running cover for him. I tell you what, I think that Eva Anderson Dubin has always been in love with Jeffrey Epstein, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was involved in some sort of open relationship, because she's a sick person, okay? Straight up. I'll just say it. In my opinion, she is one sick person. As more details emerged about Epstein's alleged behavior, the couple released another statement saying the Dubins are horrified by the new allegations against Jeffrey Epstein. Had they been aware of the vile and unspeakable conduct described in these new allegations, they would have cut off all ties and certainly never have allowed their children to be in his presence. Maxwell and Kellen have been cited in various court documents as fixers for Epstein, but deny any wrongdoing. Folks, there is so much damning, even just circumstantial evidence that tie the Dubins to Epstein and Maxwell that it's not even funny. And they can have all the canned denials that they want, all the prepared statements that they want, all the crisis team members around them that they can afford. But the fact of the matter is this: follow the money. Because Jeffrey Epstein and Glenn Dubin and his wife were very connected financially. Donations, money moving here, money moving there. Oh, they can deny the relationship with Epstein. Oh, we broke off our relationship with Epstein. We weren't friendly with him. But they cannot shake off those financial ties. Once they're stuck to them, there is no excuse for them having those sort of financial ties with Epstein. And again, it all works towards the criminal conspiracy, and it should all end up in a huge, gigantic RICO case. Because, folks, that's exactly what we're staring at here. We're staring at a vast criminal empire that spanned continents, never mind states, never mind county lines, like the sex trafficking cases we usually hear about. This spanned continents. Girls were being abused by these people on multiple continents and shipped into America and elsewhere from other places that were completely and utterly war-torn, poor, destroyed. And all of these people around Epstein, especially the people named by Virginia and others who were partaking in the abuse, these people must answer for their actions. These people all must go under oath. They all must be indicted. And this entire enterprise must be scattered to the winds of history. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that pertain to this article will be found in the description box. And to all of you who have donated to the GoFundMe, thank you very much. All right, everybody, we'll be back later on, and we'll do it all over again.
Whether you're fueling up to keep up with your inbox, or with your kids, or whatever life throws at you, McDonald's new 2 for $2 breakfast offer will help you take on the day. Now you can mix and match the toasty classic sausage McMuffin and hot and savory sausage biscuit for just $2. Add delicious to your morning with breakfast at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Single item at regular price.
For over 30 years, Lexus has made the driveway a special place. But this year, some new driveway traditions appeared, like birthdays and drive-by graduation parades. Here's to making the driveway the place to celebrate. Deck your driveway at the Lexus December to Remember sales event. Find exclusive offers on our most popular models with contactless delivery. Now through January 4th. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Click the banner to discover more.